Daria, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you doing? It's been a couple weeks since the news came down that, you're no longer going to be with WWE. It's been 10 years.
Yes.
Sonya Deville, of course. But how are you feeling?
I feel surprisingly good.
Okay.
I feel like maybe I'm still processing some of the emotions. I don't know that I fully understood it. I'm kind of like a work mentality. So I kind of went straight to the drawing board and was like, okay, cool, what's next? But obviously reflecting, I had an amazing 10-year career there. I have so many friends still there. And I've just built so many relationships there. And I got signed when I was 21 and I'm 31. So it was kind of like I grew up there. It was all I knew in my adult life was WWE. And, I'm grateful for it. It was fun. I got to do so many different things. And I feel like nothing happens to you. It happens for you.
That's a good look, yeah.
And so I'm just oh, it's time for it to be the next chapter. I'm not mad. I'm not even overly upset. I'm just oh, it's time for the next chapter in my life. I feel at peace with it.
Do you think, is it fair to say that you were a little blindsided by it?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. My contract was coming up. So there's always that chance when you have a contract coming up that it could not be renewed, which is different than a straight up release or fire, because I feel like that would take more thought and you'd be getting released. Whereas this was her contract's coming up. Do we want to keep her? Do we want to not? I had conversations with them. I thought it was going in the right direction, but ultimately it didn't. I can't be upset because of my mindset is so, maybe it's whacked. I don't know.
No, it sounds like you're in the right mindset.
Maybe. It's just how I've always been, to be honest. Anytime something comes in or out of my life, I'm oh, that was meant to be. And I believe in it so undoubtedly that I can't argue with fate. I'm oh no, that's what was supposed to happen.
Thinking 10 years, you're 31, like you said.
Yeah.
Since then, you have come out, you've gotten married.
Yes.
You've become a very confident woman, which I love. What role do you think that WWE and Sonya Deville had in your own journey to self-acceptance and, getting to this place?
Well, I look back at coming out on Tough Enough, which is
Right.
the reality show WWE had me on. It aired on TV, and it was this kind of just organic moment where I was asked, are you in a relationship? Which is a standard reality show question, just what do you do for a living? And I was yeah. And it was that moment where I had to either lie on TV or tell the truth. And the girl I was dating at the time was completely not out. Mm-hmm. Her parents were not accepting, and they made that clear to us. And so that was my only thought going through that moment was oh my God, am I going to ruin her life? Or am I going to affect her life negatively by saying this? But ultimately I said the truth anyway. And that kind of took on a life of its own in the sense that I didn't realize I didn't even fully accept myself at that point. I wasn't closeted necessarily. My closest people to me knew. I wasn't posting me and my ex kissing. It wasn't out. When the outpouring of support came from the fans when they saw me on the show, I was oh, wait, they accept me and I don't even fully accept myself. This is an issue. And that's when I started to kind of process it all and be I need to step up and just accept myself and live my truth, because I hadn't been up until that point, but I didn't realize it until the fans kind of stepped up and were giving me the confidence.
Yeah, and I think about when people do fully accept themselves and are just so proud of who they are, the kind of art and work that they put out into the universe can be so much better because it's coming from a truly authentic space.
Yes.
Do you feel that, looking back on all of it, because of those fans, and I'm sure that they have said amazing things to you and found you such an inspiration, that it was all worth it looking back?
I don't really regret anything because I'm all it's part of the process, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me too, because it was I was thrust into this world and I was so focused on the work. I was focused on learning how to wrestle. I was focused on understanding this new world of WWE. And so although my sexuality was being highlighted in a sense, that also wasn't the most defining thing about me. It was no, I'm Daria. I'm an MMA fighter. I'm now a WWE wrestler, superstar. I'm all these other things. And so it kind of just allowed me to grow in a world that I don't think anyone thought twice about my sexuality. Or at least it didn't impact me that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously the people that did see it and resonate with it were the people maybe that were going through the same thing or something similar. And hopefully that impacted them in the positive way.
What's your hope now, now that chapter is closed, 10 years of WWE, but knowing how impactful you being an openly out woman in that space. What's your hope that WWE does when it comes to having other wrestlers who are a part of the community?
I may have been the first, but I'm not going to be the last. I think that there's a place for our community to thrive in wrestling just like there is any other place. I'm going to continue being me on my next path, and I'll always be here. I'll be here for the people that were there for me when I wasn't there for myself, and vice versa. So I'm hopeful for the future.
What's like the memory or the moment in your 10 years that really is your favorite memory?
Oh, there's so many. And it's hard to like separate like the on-screen stuff or like the amazing memories behind the scenes with my friends. The way that wrestling and WWE works is you fly into a town, you wrestle there, and then typically you have live events the 3 nights following or the 3 nights prior in different towns. So you get in your rental car and you drive from city to city with a friend or alone, whatever you want to do. So me and my best friend Mandy at the time would drive together, and we were in Canada. We were in like Saskatoon or something. And there was a snowstorm, and this is so weird, but we wanted to get pre-show massages because we hadn't gotten any sleep on the flight. We didn't have a hotel to check into. So like, why don't we go get a massage and we can relax and get a little nap in? And so we're trying to find this massage place, and we end up in like a suburban neighborhood. And we're like, this doesn't look right. Like, we got to turn around. And as we're turning around, the car slides off into a snowbank.
No, oh my goodness.
So then we ended up being stranded there for like 3 hours, and this nice man ended up coming out and like helping like shovel us out and push us out, and like, so it's stuff like that that I look back on. It's those core memories that I'm like, oh my God, I had so much fun. Like, those were amazing years of my life.
I love that.
In the ring, it would be,
you know,
so many things. Walking out WrestleMania in Pride-inspired gear was really cool. And then after that, we launched a collaborative merch line with you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was like a really cool moment. And then probably winning the tag team titles a couple years ago.
That chapter's closed. Like you said, you're ready for what's next. Have you thought about what the dream career-wise? Do you want to stay with sports and wrestling?
We have a lot of fun things coming up. I just shot a movie. I can't talk detail about it yet.
Daria, the movie star.
Yes. So the irony of that is I booked the movie the week that they decided not to renew my contract, but before. And so when my contract didn't get renewed, I was like, sign. That's a sign from the universe.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. And the timing couldn't be weirder or more ironic or not ironic at all. I've been taking acting classes since I was like 13 years old. That was my first love. I always wanted to act and fight MMA. That was like my dream. And so I feel like it's full circle. I'm in LA, obviously. We're making moves.
Making moves.
Yeah, never say never to wrestling. We'll see what happens. And yeah, me and my wife are launching a podcast. She's my wife, my best friend, my business partner. She's my everything. So, and we have so much fun together. So
and almost even look alike. You know, some people, everyone says that.
Everybody.
It happens in the LGBTQ
It does,
space.
right? What's wrong with us? We're just a bunch of narcissists.
I guess, right? Ultimate compliment.
Yes. So anyway, we have such funny conversations and such a good banter. And so I'm like, why don't we turn it into a show?
Yeah.
And so we have a podcast called Unwrapped with Daria and Tony, but that's going to be really fun. It's kind of like a little peek into a 21st century modern family lifestyle. We're going to be talking all the things, celebrity guests, hearing everyone's stories, but also having a lot of fun.
Would you ever be interested, because you are, like you said, Jersey.
Yes.
What if the Real Housewives of New Jersey...
It's so funny you say that. I got a text the other day from someone, I won't say who.
Okay.
And they were like, oh my gosh, I heard they're recasting the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Would you ever consider it? And I was like, my first initial thought was, oh my gosh, reality shows give me anxiety. I was on Total Divas, and it's like, I know what it is. It's a lot of drama. But then I was like, it's so iconic because I grew up watching every season of Real Housewives of New Jersey with my mom, and we love Andy Cohen, and we watch What Happens Live for like decades. Like I grew up with that. So it would be iconic in its own right too. So
I think that would be iconic because, you know, we have queer women on New York City now.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes.
Also, I think another dream project for you, let's just put it out into the universe, if you like it, is
Manifest
the
it.
Traitors. I think you would kill, sorry for the pun there. I think you'd do great on that show.
I'm a kind of a savage, so I feel like I would do good too.
Yeah.
Although, like, I hear you get, like, buried alive in caskets and stuff. Like,
it's very physical, very mental. There's a lot of crying. People take it very seriously.
Okay.
But there's a lot of LGBTQ people on this season, so hey, you never know.
You never know.
I always think I like to remind anyone out there who's watching, it's tough to be an LGBTQ person in 2025 for a lot of reasons. What advice do you have for any youth out there or person, maybe not even youth, that is just, trying to exist as themselves and finding it in 2025 a little difficult to do so?
You have to love you before anybody else can, is a piece of advice just general across the board. Until
like what RuPaul said,
Yes.
How are you going to love someone else if you can't love yourself? Yeah,
it's so true though. Like
yeah.
you can't. You have to love yourself first. So I'm big on like self-work and like turning inward when things aren't going great in life. So spend time with yourself, take care of yourself and love yourself, but also be you because everyone else is already taken. You weren't sent on this earth to fill any other shoes but the shoes that you're in and the life that you're living. So live your truth authentically and undoubtedly, and don't ask for permission. Just do you.
I hope that comes into your podcast too, because I think we need more people that can just kind of put that and what they've learned through the process of just, like you said, realizing that things happen for a reason.
Right.
One chapter, is closing, but there's a million other things out there.
It's very hard to get me to react violently to anything because I just really believe in the universe and I believe in myself. And I'm very used to being the underdog in most situations. I was doubted my entire life, from not making sports teams 3 years in a row in high school and trying out the fourth year and making it. Like, I just have always been kind of like the little engine that could. You don't need to be anybody's favorite but your own. Just
very well said.
Just follow your heart.
I love that. Well, Daria, it's so good to see you.
Thank
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're in such a good space. I think it's an inspiring mentality for all of us.
Yes.
But it's good to catch up, and I can't wait for the movie.
Yes.
The podcast.
All the things.
Who knows, reality TV? Maybe.
I think you might have just manifested that for us.
Listen, I love the Housewives. So.
And maybe the GLAAD Awards I will see you at.
Yes, March
as per
27th.
usual. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds great.
It's going to be a big night.
Thank you for having me on.
It's good to see you.
You too.